Hi, I'm here to make my first technical video. If it becomes overly lengthy, I'll have to send it to YouTube so that you can view the full video over there. So I want to demystify the subject matter of who or what is an engineer. Very often, I get called by maybe a client or sometimes family or friends and say, "Hey, engineer, I've been asked to buy these items to come and wire my house. I want you to go through the items to see if everything is okay." Then at times too, somebody calls and like, "Engineer, I'm going to build a house, but it's going to be a three-story. Do you think that the ground conditions here are okay?" So what I'm here to do is to demystify the types of engineers that there is, if you care to know. So for all the types of engineers, we have civil engineers, computer engineers, electrical engineers, geological engineers, biomedical engineers, we have petrochemical or petroleum engineers. There are a lot of engineers, different types of engineers. So let me take it one at a time and a little at a time. So first off, I'll talk about the civil engineer, which I am. So the civil engineer deals with infrastructure, and that has got to do with dams, bridges, culverts, the construction of these things, the construction of highways, road networks, and all that. We have highway under the umbrella of civil engineering. We have highway engineering, we have transportation engineering, we have structural engineering, which also deals with the buildings, and then we have environmental engineering. So all these engineering types that I've mentioned fall under civil engineering. Every one of these people is a civil engineer, but not every civil engineer is a highway engineer, or not every civil engineer is an environmental engineer, or not every civil engineer is a transportation engineer. You get it? So let's move away from there. Now to talk about the types of engineers which I've mentioned earlier on. Now, for the civil engineer, that is what I've mentioned to you. That's what we do. Now we have the electrical engineer. Their scope of work has got to do with the electrical wiring of any network system. For example, electrical wiring of a house, or the wiring of, let's say, a street lighting system, or any kind of electrical, layouts. That is what they do. Now we have computer engineers. So computer engineers deal with both the hardware and the software of the computers. So when I mention the hardware of the computers, basically that has got to do with the part of the computer that you can touch, the keyboard, the monitor, that's the physical part of the computer. Now the software has got to do with the internal parts of the computer. So we have the softwares that there is inside of the computer, the programs that the computer runs on, and all that. Now, let me talk about geological engineers. So the geological engineers, what they do is that they look at the soil or the land on which you're going to build, and then they do their tests. They take the soil samples to the lab, determine the particle sizes. There's a whole lot there. I wouldn't want to bore you because my reach for this video is to talk to the layman. I wouldn't want to bore you with so many technicalities. So basically what they do is that they test the soil and tell us whether it is suitable for a building of any type or for the construction of any road network that there is. So that's what the geological engineers do. Now, the petroleum or the petrochemical engineers, what they do is that they they work with petrol. You know, the whole name comes from petrol. So they work with petrol, more of chemicals, you know, to tell us the quality of all these, whether they are suitable for the engines that are being run. Now, we also have mechanical engineering. And mechanical engineers, they've got their work scopes around machines. So every machine that you can think of, how the machine works, the engines that the machine runs on, how to disassemble the machines or how to assemble those machines, and how basically the parts come together to make whatever machine it is be able to run. So that's what the mechanical engineers do. So with all this education, I think you are good enough. You shouldn't call a civil engineer to come and do the work of an electrical engineer, or electrical engineer to come and do the work of a civil engineer. Right. Now, I have taken time to demystify this, because sometimes when people hear engineer, they think that an engineer means you are all knowing, you should know all these aspects of engineering. We have nanotechnological engineers, and they form part of the varying types of engineers that we have. Okay. Now, so this is what it is. The engineers come in varying, types. So if you have to do a building, now this is where I want to come in and zoom. If you have to do a building, there are certain technical people that you need to be able to get your building constructed. So right from the design phase to the time we cut sword and say, hey, the building is ready, these are the keys to your project, have it in your hand. It has got to do with a lot of technicians that run in there. Now, in no particular order, I would like to mention these technical people which you need. So what I'm educating you now is basically on the built industry, or if you have to do with building structures, the people or the technical people that work on a structure. So in no particular order, we have the architect. Now the work of the architect is that he conceptualizes any ideas that you have and says that, okay, this space is suitable for a garage, this space is suitable for a bedroom, this space is suitable for a swimming pool area. Let's put this here, we can put a guest toilet in this corner, and so on and so forth. That's what they do. And we also have the structural engineer or the civil engineer. Now, we also have the MEPs. So we have the MEPs basically stands for the mechanical, electrical, and the plumbing engineers. Then we have also the quantity surveyor, or it's an interchangeable name. You can call him the quantity surveyor, or you can call him the cost engineer. So we also have the geodetic surveyor. The geodetic surveyor, you see, let's not mix up the role of the quantity surveyor and the geodetic surveyor. The quantity surveyor tells us the quantity of materials, products, whatever we need, the quantities of all these items to be able to construct the building. Now, their work is also to tell us the cost implication of the project. You get it? Now, because we work hand in hand with all these people, we rub off knowledge. I've worked with electrical engineers for so many years, I worked with architects for so many years. So sometimes I transfer knowledge to them. They get to know, okay, this is how I do my things. I also get to know, okay, if I had an electrical engineer, this is how he would do his things. And then sometimes, I get to hear maybe they're talking about cables, the sizes of the cables, 1.5 mm, and all those things. But it doesn't mean that I am in that capacity to um, to say or to give a professional view. Let me put it that way: to give a professional view of what there is to be done so far as electrical works is concerned. You get me? Right. So for the list of people that I've mentioned, this is what they do so far as the building, the construction of a building is concerned. Right. About the technical people that come together to, put up a building. The very last one, which I haven't mentioned, is the structural engineer. Now, the structural engineer's work is to tell the amount of rebar, in layman's terms, you say iron rods, the amount of iron rods that goes into all the structural elements. When I say the structural elements, I mean the columns, the beams, the slabs, and the staircase. So all the iron rods that goes into all these parts of the building. That's what the work of the structural engineer. And the structural engineer, by his softwares and expertise, can tell you that, okay, you need so and so number of tons to be able to construct, let's say, this 2-story, or this so and so number of tons to be able to construct this 3-story.